Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are continuing with Sri Caitanya Charitamrta, Adi Lila, chapter 5, and we will continue with verse number 41. We left off at half of the purport. Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna Niruddha Dvitya Chaturvyuha E Turiya Vishuddha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Vasudev, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha constitute the second quadruple. They are purely transcendental. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanam Janashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So welcome to all of you to today's class on Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. Does anyone remember what we covered in the purport last week? There was a lot that Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport of verse number 41 without looking. That is a challenge.
Explaining about the quadruple expansion.
Yes, the second quadruple expansion of Vasudev, Shankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And also, Srila Prabhupada talked about how that this second quadruple expansion also is pure and transcendental. So, in the first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have heard, no, that's okay, it's good, vitamin D. No, that's okay, thank you. Then the face will shine. It's shining too much. Yeah, you might want to close the blind. Yes.
This one, right?
Yes, yes. Where was I? Yes, so there are many references from the scriptures that clearly explain that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the same thing. And Srila Prabhupada, when I was reading the remaining part of the purport, I was thinking, and I always think of this every time I read his purport, how would we understand the verses without his purport? Is it possible? It's not possible at all. Imagine for one verse, he has given such a long purport because it is very important. So Srila Prabhupada has explained the inconceivable potencies of Krishna in his first part of the purport. And also that Krishna, even though everything emanates from him, everything happens by his will, still he is untouched, right? We've learned this in Bhagavad Gita also, that Krishna does not get touched by or affected by material qualities or the material world. He remains unattached, but we get attached to everything material. Everything mundane is something that is very attractive for us. So, to be able to understand the Supreme Lord, mental speculation does not help. In my opinion, according to me, I think so. Who cares what we think, right? For perfect knowledge, we have to take knowledge from the perfect source. So Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna cannot be understood by speculative processes. Sometimes people say, oh, Krishna said this and then he said that. It's a contradiction. No, Prabhupada says there is nothing contradictory as far as Krishna is concerned. We know, we've heard the three stages of God realization, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. There are many who like to be on that platform of Brahman, right? Only believe that Krishna has no form and he's just light, right? The Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence. Then there are those yogis who try to meditate on the super soul in the heart, thinking that that is going to give them liberation. But Prabhupada says the topmost realization is that of Bhagavan realization. So those who are into impersonalism, for them, there is a lot of confusion. Imagine if my mother said, it's time for you to get married. You have to get married to a light. I would be like, so much confusion, right? Where's the head? Where's the tail? Who do I talk to? Who do I associate with? What do I do? No, just a light, you see? That is the situation of those who are impersonalists because they don't know, they can't figure out, and they're just concentrating on the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada says that's why they get confused and they get bewildered. Then they think a rope to be a snake. See, that's the confusion, which means we don't know the reality. So if we really want to understand the Supreme Lord, then we need to take knowledge from the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caitanya, Caritamrta. We are very fortunate that we have bona fide knowledge from Srila Prabhupada. And he also agrees. He said, right. Oh, yes. Yeah. He's like, when will I learn Prabhupada's purpose, right? It started from childhood. Yes. Yes. You see? So we are very, very fortunate that we have access to bona fide knowledge. So Prabhupada says, until and unless we have bona fide knowledge from bona fide source, we will not get the real knowledge. We won't be happy. Not just take knowledge randomly. You know, sometimes when children go to the library, I've seen this. I used to volunteer in my grandson's school in the library. And how would the children choose the books? This is the book I want. You do that, and then let me take this book. That is random, right? We need to have some knowledge that, okay, I want to learn about Krishna, okay? Yes, so which book do I take? I take Bhagavad Gita as it is. So knowledge is very, very important from a bona fide source. Then Srila Prabhupada continues and he says that we need to understand the difference between material activities and spiritual activities. Sometimes the mind plays tricks, considers material activity to be spiritual, right? And then say, oh, I'm on the right path.
Maybe he is doing dovetailing.
That is what the mind thinks. I am dovetailing, but actually is not dovetailing. Is totally 100% material activity. I remember one time someone told me that actually I watched that movie, some Bollywood movie. So my question was, okay, why? He said, then what I thought, the reason I was watching was because I was considering the hero to be Krishna.
So many times.
Really?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I was watching in that conscious. I'm like, hello, who are you fooling? Oh, what about that Bollywood song?
Yeah.
I dovetail it to Krishna.
Exactly.
How? You watching a hero dancing, you hearing a hero singing, and you're dovetailing it to no. So this is how the mind can trick us. So Prabhupada says we need to understand the difference between material activities and spiritual activities. We need to discriminate. And how can we discriminate? Only when we have knowledge. Without knowledge, how is it possible? Right? Unless and until we know, we won't be able to discriminate. So he says that, Prabhupada says that if we have knowledge, then we can act properly. So we have the knowledge, which is the theory part, and then we use our intelligence and put it into practice, then we become wise. That is wisdom. So to be able to do that also, we need help of a bona fide spiritual master. We cannot do it on our own, because if we try to do on our own, our mind will again take us in different directions. Many times people say, I don't want a guru because then I will be controlled by the guru. Guru does not control us. Especially a bona fide guru will not control us, will give us. I remember recently I asked a question to Guru Maharaj, and he did not say you should do this. He said, if you like, this is my suggestion. If you like, you can do this. And if you do this, this will be the result. That means the choice is there, whether we want to follow it or not want to follow it. Now, can you tell me why does he answer in that way?
Because he doesn't want us to offend.
Exactly. Because if he says, do this, and if I don't do that, then it becomes an offense, disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. So, we need help from a bona fide spiritual master, but Krishna does not need anybody's help. This is what Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purpose. There are many who like to manufacture, right? We are expert in manufacturing, right? What do we manufacture? Different ideas, different realizations. We call it realization, right? We are expert in manufacturing, but Srila Prabhupada says we cannot manufacture the spiritual knowledge. That comes as it is from the Supreme Lord. Even to manufacture anything in this material world, we need help, right? Say we want to build a house. We need so many ingredients to build the house. Yes or no, right? We need all these material things. But for Krishna, he doesn't need anything to manufacture anything. So, Krishna, when we're learning about these quadruple expansions, the second quadruple expansion, so these are all expansions of the Lord or incarnation. So, when Krishna incarnates, there's a purpose behind it. There's a reason. We can take any incarnation of the Lord, like Lord Nrsimhadev. Why did he incarnate? There was a reason behind it, to protect his devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, and by the way, kill Hiranyakashipu. That was not his main purpose of incarnating. So similarly, Krishna incarnates because there is a purpose behind it, and he does that because he wants to. It's his will. It's not that we can demand that, okay, Krishna, now it's Kali Yuga, we definitely need you, come down. Right? We need you right now. But he's already there. Do you believe Krishna is here?
Yes.
How?
So,
How?
Bhagavad Gita.
His holy name, he's there. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us that Krishna has incarnated in his holy name. And why does he come? To show mercy to his devotees and also to destroy the miscreants. Now, when he appears, when he incarnates, or when he appears in his original form, he appears to be dependent on others. For instance, Yashoda Maya. Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's appearing to be dependent on Yashoda. If she doesn't feed him, he will go hungry. If she doesn't bathe him, what will happen, right? Oh, he's smiling. You see? So, if Krishna appeared in front of Yashoda Maya like the Supreme Lord, what would she do? Instead of feeding him butter, she'll take the bell and she'll do ting, 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 ting and do his aarti, right? Then where is that loving exchange between mother and child? So Krishna appears to be dependent on his devotees, but actually this is his mercy for his devotees. We have heard before that Yashoda Maya, she had the benediction that Krishna will appear as her son 3 times, and this was one of those times. So this is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Then Srila Prabhupada continues to say that the reason Krishna comes down or he incarnates or he has these quadruple expansions is to protect his devotees. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam, right? And by the way, he kills the miscreants. I was reading Bhagavad Gita. I remember last time Janardhan Maharaj was giving a class on, instead of third Saturday, I think he gave it on the fourth Saturday last time. And he was talking about reading Bhagavad Gita every day. Do you remember? Reading Bhagavad Gita every day. And then he pointed to me, Gita, your name is Gita. You should read Bhagavad Gita every day. I read, but not a lot, right? So then I started reading a lot, at least one chapter a day. In that, yes, it's difficult, but it's not impossible, right? So, yes. See, the Prabhupada's purpose is the essence of those verses, right? For us to be able to understand the verses, we need to understand the purpose also. So I was reading, and there it was mentioned about, I came across that verse where Krishna says that I'm not partial to anyone. And yet he is inclined towards his devotees. So there may be a confusion. He's not partial, but he's partial, right? So Prabhupada gives the example of, two children. One is obedient, one is disobedient. So the parent is inclined towards the obedient child. Not that doesn't love the other child, loves both the children equally, but that inclination is there. So Prabhupada says that Krishna is equally disposed to everybody, whether friends or enemies, but he has special affection for his devotees. Why? Because the devotees are constantly thinking of Krishna with love and devotion. They understand Krishna is the controller, he is the well-wisher, he is the best friend, he is within the heart, who is watching us. We may be in a dark room, but he can see all our activities. Now, it's not easy to understand Krishna. How many of us have understood him? We're still trying. I don't know, since time immemorial. We're still trying to understand him. So Prabhupada says, difficult to understand Krishna's inconceivability. He is beyond our conception. But it is possible by the mercy of Krishna that one can understand the Supreme Lord. Oh, yes, sure, yes. Yes. Sometimes GPS also doesn't help us to reach the destination, right? But if we follow the GPS as it is, then not with our mind, oh, in my opinion, I should take a left turn or a right turn. No, as it is, we need to follow it. So Prabhupada says, it is difficult to understand Krishna. He's inconceivable, but it's possible for devotees because they get the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Now we meet so many people in our day-to-day life, whether it is in the office, social circle, friends, relatives, whoever it may be. How many do you think are in ignorance? Most are in ignorance. Why? Because they don't have access to the knowledge. Even if they have access to the knowledge, they are not interested in that knowledge. Yes. So Prabhupada says most are in ignorance and most are interested in word jugglery.
Exactly.
Right? Word jugglery, when you can, use flowery words, that is what attracts people. Oh, very nice. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, do not get attracted by flowery words of the Vedas. That can be a distraction. So people easily get attracted to word jugglery and they are unable to understand Krishna or his potencies. That is why it is important to have a bona fide spiritual master. Hare Krishna. So the scriptures, they clearly give us all the references about everything: who is God, who we are, what is our position, what is our duty, what is our prescribed duty. Everything is given in the scriptures. Now we finished Srimad Bhagavatam, reading the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, where we learned how Krishna creates, how he maintains, how he annihilates. Everything is there. How his different energies work: internal potency, external potency, marginal, everything we learned from Srimad Bhagavatam. Have we understood it? We know it theoretically, right? It's very hard to, what is that word? To internalize, to realize these potencies. Very, very difficult. Now, those who are in ignorance, Prabhupada says, they think that Krishna get affected by dualities. Like Krishna feels sad sometimes. He goes through happiness, distress, heat, cold, success, failure. No, Krishna is beyond all that. We are the ones who get affected by dualities. That's when Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, we have to become samadarshinaha. We have to be equipoised. We have to be equal in all situations. How many of us jump up and down in misery? And when there is failure, when there is a lot of pain, we are excited. We are happy. It doesn't happen. Immediately the mind goes, oh no, I have this problem and this problem and this problem. I remember one time hearing my husband, someone asked him, how are you? He said, you want an honest answer or you want a
Formal answer.
formal answer? I'm fine, thank you. But that's a lie, right? In Germany, when you ask them, how are you? They say, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks for asking. That's it. Because they don't want to tell a lie. So then that person, devotee, said, no, tell the truth. Honest. He said, from where do you want me to start? From head or toe? You give me the option and I will start. And I'll tell you all the problems I have in my body. See? Is that the case with everybody?
उसके बाद उन्होंने क्या बोला?
Just my and change the topic because didn't want to hear it. Who wants to hear? Yes, who wants to hear? So then he used that formula every time. If anyone asks him, how are you? Where do you want me to start? From top or from bottom? And those who have heard this before, don't ask him. See? So Prabhupada says that we get affected by dualities, but Krishna does not get affected by dualities. Why? Because he is self-sufficient, he is self-satisfied, he is Atmaram. He doesn't need anything from anybody. But yet he accepts our devotional service for our benefit so that we can purify ourselves. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, we've learned, Krishna tells Arjuna, that I'm working, there's no need for me to do anything, but I'm still doing some work to set an example. I don't get affected, but we get affected by what we do. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, there are 2 chapters on karma yoga, because it's so very important. We've learned in Bhagavad Gita how we should perform our prescribed duties, not just duties, prescribed duties. So then it's important we find out what is my prescribed duty. Now, how do we find that out? Is it there in some book? Where can we find?
Go to Guru.
Yes, we have to inquire from the spiritual master, what is my prescribed duty? Because everyone's duty is different. Everyone's prescribed duty is different. So next time we meet our spiritual master, we should inquire, get specific instructions on what is my prescribed duty, because it is the spiritual master who can guide us correctly on the spiritual path. So Krishna being self-satisfied, self-sufficient, yet he got married to more than 16,000 women. Right? He did. It's difficult to understand. Is it easy to handle one woman? I know everyone is going to be quiet and look here and there. Yeah, because wives are sitting, so the husbands have to look around somewhere else. No expression.
From there.
No expression. Why? Because we have to go home. I need to eat. Right? We don't want to starve for a few days. See? So, Krishna, he can do that. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it's difficult for us to understand these activities. So that is why Prabhupada says we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna to understand. If you remember Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, there's a very nice verse number 15. Sarva se chaham vedi sanivishto matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarve aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. What do the last two lines mean? Krishna says, I am the compiler of the Vedas and I am to be known from the Vedas. So the whole purpose of our studying these scriptures is so that we can understand Krishna. And Prabhupada says the devotees of Krishna, they are spending so much time giving this knowledge to others, preaching the same, so that everyone can understand the Supreme Lord. And only through that, the conditioning will be removed and one will be able to liberate oneself. Now, the remaining part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Shankaracharya. If you remember, we heard a lot about Shankaracharya last week, right? About what were the teachings of Shankaracharya, who is none other than Lord Shiva. Now, Shankaracharya claimed that Sankarshana, Lord Sankarshana, is a jiva. How many of you agree? No, it's not a jiva. Because the Vedas clearly explain that Sankarshana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is Vibhu Caitanya, which means he is the greatest. And he's the direct cause of cosmic manifestation. He's also called Mula Sankarshana, the original, and he's also Lord Vishnu. That is the position of Sankarshana. Whereas Shankaracharya is claiming that he is a jiva. But at the same time, he's also saying that Sankarshana is the Supreme Lord who can expand himself. Now that's a contradiction, right? One place you are saying he's jiva, and another place you are saying that he's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So his philosophy, Prabhupada says, is contradictory. And that is the defect of Mayavad philosophy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, stay away from Mayavadis, because before we know, we will also become a Mayavadi, which means a impersonal. So Srila Prabhupada says that Shankaracharya compared the quadruple expansion with earth and earthen pots, cause and effect. Can you believe that? What a comparison. Comparing the Supreme Personality of Godhead like that. He thinks that these these expand through cause and effect, and that is completely ignorant. There's no such thing in their expansions, because there's no difference between body and soul of the Supreme Personality of God, and his body also is transcendental. So when we see this cause and effect, that is there in the material world, but not on the spiritual platform. For instance, Prabhupada gives example that father is the cause of his son's body, correct? Father is the cause of son's body, but the soul has no cause or effect, because soul is eternal. Soul does not take birth or die, right? So we cannot compare it like that. So on the spiritual platform, there is no difference between cause and effect. Krishna is perfect. His incarnations are perfect. His expansions are perfect. And if you remember, what is that scripture where there's this beautiful verse, Om Purnam Adha Purnam Idam Purnat Shri Shopanishad. Yes. What does that mean? That Krishna is complete, he's whole. Even when there are parts coming out of him, he still remains the whole. He doesn't. It's not like, oh, Krishna has become 5% less, now he's 10% less. No, he still remains the complete, the whole. He, even after expanding, after incarnations, after expansions, plenary expansions, he still remains the whole, complete, absolutely complete. So, what did we learn about Krishna so far? A lot. We learned a lot about his expansions, about the second quadruple expansion. So everything, the summary of all of it is Krishna is spiritual, he is transcendental, Satchidananda Vigraha, his form is Satchidananda, is transcendental, and there is no difference between Krishna, his name, his pastimes, his form, his paraphernalia, everything is the same. There is no difference. But for us, there is a difference, right? We are different. We are material. We have material bodies, but the soul is spiritual. So, Prabhupada says that every expansion of Krishna is identical with him. So we cannot say, oh, one expansion has come out, so Krishna is reduced a little bit. And that expansion is also a little bit because it's just one expansion. No, it's identical with him because Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. He's a fountainhead of all incarnations, and he's a fountainhead of all wonderful transcendental qualities. Then Srila Prabhupada continues about, after talking about quadruple expansions, he talks about Ramanujacharya. Do you know yesterday was appearance day of Ramanujacharya, right? A great devotee of the Lord. Ramanujacharya, he refuted Shankaracharya's philosophy and the commentary. And he wrote his own commentary on Vedanta Sutra. And the Pancharatras clearly state that Shankarshana emerged from Vasudev. We learned this before, right? In one of the verses. And Pradyumna from Sankarshana. Aniruddha from Pradyumna. We learned that, right? So if Shankarshana is a jiva, how can anything come from him? It's not possible. He's not a jiva. He is eternal. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Shankarshana is said to be jiva, this indicates that he is the predominating deity of living entities. When there's a reference of Pradyumna with the mind, that means he's a predominating deity of the mind. Similarly, Aniruddha is a predominating deity of ego. If you remember, we read this in the previous verses last week. So, now my question to all of us is, what did we learn so far? A lot. How to remember all those things, right? What is the basic thing we learned? That the quadruple expansions are not material. They are spiritual. They are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are identical with the Supreme Lord as far as opulences are concerned. And Prabhupada says worshipping the quadruple expansion is equal to worshipping Krishna. There is no difference. Then he says worshipping incarnations like Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Ramachandra, his appearance day is coming up on Tuesday, Ram Navami, right? It's coming up. So Prabhupada says worshipping these incarnations, it helps one to get promoted to worshipping the quadruple expansions. Then one gets raised to the platform of worshipping Vasudev. Who is Vasudev? Who is Vasudev? He is Krishna himself, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva is another name for Krishna. So only those who take on the knowledge and get trained by a bona fide spiritual master, they are considered to be very fortunate, like we are. We have bona fide knowledge. We have Prabhupada's purpose. We have a bona fide spiritual master. We are in Krishna consciousness. We are an association of devotees. So we are very, very fortunate. So if the spiritual master and Krishna are pleased, then we will be able to understand Krishna also. Have you understood Krishna? If we had, we wouldn't be sitting here, right? We would be in samadhi. Someone told me, called me up and said that I was preaching, and this lady told her that yesterday Krishna came in my dream and we had a nice pastime together, and this happened and that happened. So this devotee was asking what should be my response. What does Prabhupada say to that? He says, continue chanting and all this will go away. All this will go away. Because if we have really seen Krishna in our dream, would we talk about it? Right? Huh? Yes, it is very confidential. And this is possible only for pure devotees of the Lord. See? So what do we learn? That just by taking on this knowledge, bona fide knowledge through bona fide source, putting it into practice, that is very, very important. Putting it into practice and making sure that we continue on this path very sincerely and seriously. Because Prabhupada says bhakti is not casual. It's not by the way. You know, it's not like a hobby that today I feel like learning to swim, or tomorrow I feel like learning table tennis or badminton. No, it's not a hobby. It's a very, very serious what?
Commitment.
Commitment. So if it is something very serious for us, then we need to put in that much effort. First of all, think, what is my goal? Have you thought about it? What is my goal? Did we write down in a diary, this is my goal? Okay, now that I know this is my goal, what do I do to reach it? Don't we have goals in our offices too, right? The boss gives us the goal, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, they give us the goal that this is what you need to reach. This is what you need to accomplish. And this is a time frame, right? This is a time frame. And if you don't, then you get a red slip, which means you go find another job. So when in material activities we have a goal, how about having it for our spiritual lives also? And then Prabhupada says, if our goal is to go to Vaikuntha planet, where there is pure goodness, which is full of opulences, then we need to work towards that goal. Because when this material world will be annihilated, all the living entities will enter into the body of Mahasankarshana. Sankarshana, Prabhupada says, is the origin of Karana Vishnu, who creates all these universes. And he's also the plenary expansion of Nityananda. This chapter that we are doing is called Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. But this is what Prabhupada explains. So when we meditate on all these instructions given to us by Prabhupada in this purport, I would recommend that you go through this purport again, revisit it, so that, it becomes refreshed in our minds, and then we can work towards our goal. So this is how Srila Prabhupada ends this purport of verse number 41. A very beautiful purport. So we will end here. If anyone has any questions or comments, you are welcome to ask.